Hi there, it's Leslie Oman at Hungry Heavy Crafts, and I've got a card today. I guess it's a Bon Voyage card. It's for a friend of ours at work who's decided to move to Spain and do some work. So I thought I would send him a Hungry Heavy Crafts card with him to take with him to Spain. I sketched the card out before I began because I had this inspiration when I was on the go. And I'm going to be using some distress inks a bit like watercolours today. So I'm using watercolour paper or watercolour card, as I find this takes the ink a lot better. I'm starting off by using my Cuttlebug and my Lawn Fawn Stitch Rectangles die to cut a nice perfect rectangle. And I'm actually going to stick this down to the underside of my Fiskars stamp press because I want a flat surface, but I want to be able to move it around. And I haven't quite got round to buying a board yet. I got these Mama Elephant stamps. I think it's called Up and Away. They've got the cutest little critters. As soon as I got the stamp set, I stamped them and coloured some of them in. And this little guy was one that I had in my stash. And I coloured him in using some Spectrum Noir colouring pencils. And he's going to sit down here on the left. And it's going to look like he's throwing a paper aeroplane. And this aeroplane and the dashed line is from Lawn Fawn, and I think it's called Fly With Me. I'm also going to be doing some mix and match with some stamp sets. This personal impression stamp set is called Big Sentiments. I love this one. And I'm using the Good Luck sentiment for that. And I'm also pulling out one of my Hero Art sentiments that says, the whole stamp says, enjoy the little things. But I'm just going to use enjoy the. And I looked everywhere through my stash to find a stamp that said adventure. And I guess I just don't have one. So I'll show you in a minute how I managed to get around that. I'm prepping my cardstock by swiping some water with a big brush right all over it so that I can get it nice and saturated with some water. And I'm using some distress inks, just patted them down onto my craft sheet and spread it with some water. This is the Cracked Pistachio colour, which is one of my new favourites that was just released this year. And I believe this one is Broken China, another one of my favourites. Now I'm letting the water do the work for me. You can see I'm not really brushing my brush. I'm just loading up my paintbrush with the water and touching it to the card or to the surface. And then I've splattered the top sides, and that gives a nice water spray look to the card. I add a little bit of Stormy Sky distress inks to bring in a bit more of the blue tones. I needed to make sure this was good and dry before I move on to embossing. So I used my heat tool and give that a good blast. And I also took a squirty bottle, a spray bottle with some perfect pearls mixed with water to do little droplets. I really like the way that the distress ink reacts with water. Some of the ink pulls away from where the water droplets hit, and it gives a really nice watery texture to the final card. So you can see here I'm just writing the word adventure. My handwriting is not perfect, but it'll do the trick. And I'm using my Faber-Castell, one of my fine liners from them. So here's that Hero Art stamp set, and I'm using a little bit of post-it tape to cover up the words that I don't need. I'm prepping my surface with my powder tool, and then I'm inking up this stamp with some Versamark clear embossing ink. And then I'll stamp that just before the word adventure. But let's take off this post-it tape first. And I'm using some black embossing powder for this. Now, I did need to go back in with a dry paintbrush and brush away any of those stray embossing powder crystals because with the watercolour card it does stick a little bit. I've also pulled up this outside this right hand piece of washi tape because some of the black embossing powder bits had got stuck in there, and I didn't want to heat it up and it melt onto the background. So now I'm stamping up my aeroplane, and these stamp sets do have matching dies, but I don't have them, so I just cut that out myself. It's really simple anyway. And here's the little dashed line. Sorry about my head there. So I'm going to stick him straight onto the card. I thought maybe I might pop him up with foam pads, but I decided to stick him flat on the card. But I wanted to give the little paper aeroplane some more dimension. So I'm taking my Spectrum Noir colouring pencils, and I'm using the grey tones. There's a fairly light grey here, and then there's two darker colours of grey. And I'm doing just the bits, the folds and the points to give a bit of dimension. It doesn't look as flat then. And I'm going over the whole thing with a white pencil to blend it out. So let's stick this down as well. Now I can pull off my washi tape and stick this to a card blank. And because I had it taped down while I was doing the inking or the painting, and then I let it dry while it was on a flat surface, you can see that the card hasn't buckled at all, and it's so easy then to stick onto a card blank. And there it is. Good luck, John. Have lots of fun in Spain. We're going to miss you lots and lots. And thanks for watching the video today. Come on over to hungryheffycrafts.com to see some more crafty projects. Have a great day.